Hello, I'm Michael, and this is Tarot by the Tree. This is our continuing exploration of the minor arcana. We're doing it suit by suit. We covered staves and cups, and we're now into pentacles or coins. We'll do a little bit of a recap in a minute. The coins are a particularly evident suit. The first the lower numbers in the coin suit represent, of course, money, and it covers three logical ways of acquiring money. This is the card that we're looking at today. It's the Four of Coins. As a bit of a recap, coins or pentacles are one of the four suits of the tarot cards. Pentacles or coins stand for your money, your capital, your possessions, your valuables, your cash, and your savings. This is not anything you could call mystical or spiritual. This is stuff. This is corporeal matter. Money is one of the suits of the tarot cards, along with things like happiness and power and ideas. It's very important because it leads to independence, mobility, pride, no dependence on charity, and it allows you to start to develop your other attributes. Those attributes found in swords, such as power, cups, joy, and staves. The idea of bringing your ideas into reality so they don't just live in your head anymore. All of this is dependent on a certain measure of independence, and independence is dependent on a certain measure of money. And that's the suit of coins we're in. And as we've mentioned before, this idea of money is somehow cheapened in society, and we have a sort of a zen, it is and it isn't, a love-hate relationship with it, so that rich people never want to talk about money. That's gauche, but everything they do proclaims the money. The car they drive, the home, the clothes, they like to proclaim it. This card is the number 4, and it is existing in the 4th Sephira on the Tree of Life. The 4th Sephira is the Emperor. And we can see the similarity on the two cards. We'll see that the 4 of Coins is like a mini emperor, but it's not based on pride or delusion. It's just an aspect of what a certain amount of savings can do to your perspective. This is in the court of the Emperor, who is the benevolent king. He's on the side of mercy. You might say that this card is the beginning of the Emperor. And the Emperor can be anybody who is financially successful. This is the card about somebody who is on the road to be beholding to no one. And that's what we mean by independence. It looks at first like he's a miser pretending to be a minor king. But that's just a negative way of looking at everything. He's not a miser. He's a wise person saving. He's not pretending to be a lesser king. He just has feelings akin to that. And those make him feel very good. We'll describe this card. There is a man in a tunic, boots, and a long fur cloak. He sits on a sturdy chair that looks like a miniature throne, maybe made from stone. He wears a crown. He seems to be claiming 4 coins, 1 under each foot, 1 on his crown, and the 4th clasped in both arms. His seat is on solid ground, and a city of streets and buildings sprawl in the distance. The meaning of this card. We're in some of the lower numbers now. We've worked our way up, and the meaning of this card is money, wealth, and the resulting independence. This is the third way of initiating wealth. And we'll go through the cards and we'll just take a look at how this unfolds. We've reached a stage where we don't want to be in the inner courtyard of innocence anymore. We want to move out and not be like a kept person relying on charity. Maybe you want adventure, maybe you want autonomy, but you have to move out through the archway into the land, and you will start to seek your fortune. There are three ways of making your fortune, and we've covered these in these three cards. Way number one, make yourself incredibly busy. So busy that you know you can't do this forever. You dance and you juggle in a way that leaves no recourse for any support or help. You're on your own and you learn to do everything. It's extremely busy, but you are extremely useful and in many cases essential. This person starting to want to earn money, has some sort of employment, is doing everything they can, sleeping the minimum, and working as hard as they can, doing several things at once, multitasking, and learning every aspect of the business that he's in. That's the first way, is to, in a new job, make yourself indispensable and make sure you know all aspects of that endeavor. That's number one. Number two, which is actually the third card. This is the second way. The Three of Coins shows another way. Once you have perhaps gone through card number two, learned things, done many things, you now focus. You settle on one thing that presumably you have some kind of future in, some sort of skill in, and you concentrate on that, and you work on that, and you study, you apprentice, and you become one of the best at a very specific job. And that makes you indispensable. And in this card, he rises above the king's emissary and the church's priest. And by virtue of his work, he transforms stone into an almost living kind of art. So we've seen the first way. Be really busy, so busy that you know you can't do this forever. Make yourself indispensable. In the second card, we say, okay, focus now. I found something, a niche, something that I can excel in, and work very hard to make sure you are the best. There's always a call for the best. And in this fourth card, we see the third aspect of people trying to make money, perhaps in a new field, and that is saving everything. This person, what you see him wearing might be all that he owns. This is a time of austerity, but every bit of wealth that comes his way is cherished and held tightly and saved and accumulated. As I mentioned, this card will be a period of time depriving yourself of luxury that won't factor into your life at that time. In a sense, financial independence grants you a minor kingship, a minor kingdom where you are the king and you are also the subjects. It's a very small kingdom, but it does allow you control over yourself. The meaning of the card. The man in the card has scrambled in the streets for 1 year. He carries with him all that he has. His clothes are simple and serve him in all kinds of weather. He has reduced his needs to the minimum and most basic. He scrimps and saves. Now he has saved everything he has earned and amassed a minimum wealth to be self-sufficient. This independence raises him out of the scramble of the streets and up into a realm of relative wealth. Now he can continue to develop. The ability to move into a realm of relative wealth is a key or a ticket. It's a freedom that will allow all other aspects of you to develop if that's what your plan is. Why don't we turn to some of the questions?
Well, a comment that this card sort of I think Scrooge when I see this card.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people who look at this card might think that this is a card of the Scrooge, and we know many people like that amass money, perhaps for future calamity, but maybe it's just for being showy. We don't know. This is not a card of the Scrooge at all, because this is a card of somebody working wisely to develop wealth. Scrooge was already in possession of wealth. A lot of his behaviors weren't done just to move him out of the streets, because he was already out of the streets. Scrooge may have been greedy when he no longer had any need to be so careful or frugal with his money. Anyway, I do not believe this card is Scrooge, although at first glance he may look at it. I think this kind of thing that might look greedy or selfish is the necessary underpinning of gaining the wealth necessary to be self-sufficient.
This kind of answers the question, is this card describing a miser?
Yeah, and it is pretty well the same. He's a miser in the good sense of it, but very seldom is miser used as a compliment. If you knew this person at this stage of their life, you would find he was frugal, Spartan. He would not appear generous. The kids wouldn't look forward to his Christmas gifts. His parties would not be very fancy things. Elegance isn't a part of what he's doing. He is suffering now while he is strong and able to be able to get a solid base under him. And as much as we might think that money is unnecessary and extra, this suit of tarot cards suggests that it is of fundamental importance, just like joy or strength.
Why does he wear a fur cloak?
My thinking is this man has reduced everything that he has just to what he needs, and what he needs he carries with him at all times. That cloak is his jacket. It may also be his bedroll. It may also be his tent, his sofa and bed. This is a person who has reduced his needs to the minimum. He wouldn't have duplicates of anything. And as I said before, any form of luxury, he is postponing to later in life. He realizes that now is the time for accumulation and a very frugal style of life.
Why does he stand on 2 coins and hold another with both hands?
To me, this is a sign of no one's going to take this from me. And he's very, very careful about it. And I don't think the card could be more obvious in the sense that this person is claiming these coins, and these coins cannot be removed from his grasp.
Does he really believe he is a king?
No, absolutely not. It's about a feeling. After worrying so long about financial problems, which gets in the way of our development in all other areas, sort of a universal sadness that lack of money can bring. He doesn't think he's a king, but with enough wealth that he doesn't have to scramble, rely on charity anymore, gives him that feeling of rising above the population in the streets. He feels elevated somehow. He does not believe he's a king, but he has some of the positive feelings that royalty might enjoy sometimes.
Has he now left the scramble of the streets?
He's still part of the scramble, but he's not at the mercy of the streets anymore. He can now step aside into relative security and not be a part of all the whims and the little power struggles all the time. That's what this gives him, is the power to still be part of the street, but not at the mercy of the street.
Does he share his wealth? Is he greedy?
He does not share his wealth. He is greedy. It's necessary at this time. One analogy is if you were in a desert and you had a bucket of water every day, what would you do with it? If you scattered that water all around, at the end of a year, you'd probably have the same desert. But if you took that bucket of water and very carefully accumulated one little puddle and planted it around, at the end of the year, you may have a little microcosm of some greenery happening there. And I think it's the same with him, where he is conserving what he has in a way that will lead to growth.
What exactly is he the king of?
Only himself. But that's a huge step, because before this, and like so many people, they are not masters of themselves. And that is because they have no security of income. And as we mentioned, income is just another form of stored energy. You had to produce a lot of energy, and then you are given money, and that's your energy in storage so that you can then trade for another form of energy.
Is the city in the card a good or a bad place?
Yes, it's a good and a bad place. There's no morality in a city. It is a place where all moralities congregate. If he is at the mercy of the city, he will find it a bad place, because he's not going to attract anything that he would consider good.
Why doesn't he just spend his money now?
He could spend his money now and he'd have a great week, but he is looking ahead for a lifetime. And we only have so many decades of really active, productive learning in order to make money. And from the age of, say, 20 to 50 is when this is going to be easier for you to accomplish. And it gets more and more difficult with time, obviously.
What kind of social life would the person in this card have? Do people like him? Does he make a lot of friends?
Well, we were actually just discussing the whole idea of friendship and the ebb and flow of friendship. Those aren't things that he's about right now. What were the two things in that question again?
Um, do people like him? Does he make a lot of friends?
Okay. He's honest. He's driven. There's a lack of artifice about him. Anybody that liked him would be liking the real person, and that would be, I would think, a stable friendship. Um, does he have many friends? I think this is all about single-minded purpose, and all his friends, he treats them well, but he holds them at arm's length. He is not, at this stage of his life, there is nothing about philanthropy going on. There's nothing about sharing going on. This is, if you want to look at it sort of in a negative way, this is a selfish enterprise. But if he can't be independent, he can't help anyone. And I think he realizes that once he can financially stand on his own 2 feet, he will then be free to help people if that's what he wants to do.
Final thoughts.
Um, I think this card says 2 things. One, it says the postponement of pleasure. And that may be very difficult for some people for so many reasons. And we've looked a bit at the Suit of Cups, and we know how important joy is, that joy is actually good for every other part of your being. Similarly, coins are part of every other part of your being. This card is about 2 things. One, postponement of pleasure. That will happen later. You can't pursue pleasure all your life and think you'll have something left over at the end. You'll have a lot of good feelings, but will you be able not to be a burden on other people? And that's what this whole suit talks about. So the first one is postponement of pleasure. The second one, it is not about how much you make. It's about what you own and what you owe. And that's something we all have to think about, because society has all kinds of incentives and pressures to keep all of us in debt. And it's huge. It's just nothing for anybody to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So this is a card about beginning, starting out, being independent at a low level. Right, Joss?
Well, Stankma says, hope all is well.
Oh, hi, Stagma. Yeah, everything is good. We're feeling better, and it's snowing outside, and yeah, life's good. Thanks. Okay, that's it for tomorrow. We've covered the first 4 cards. The 2 to 4 are the 3 ways to start out your road to riches. And tomorrow we'll move on with the 5 of coins. Bye for now.